2011, some of you will recall, the board accepted CGS Special Report 215, classification report on aggregate in the San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara Production-Consumption Region. In March 2012, the board accepted the state geologist's recommendations for designation of select mineral resource lands in this region. 60-day public comment period commenced on June 7th, 2012 and ended on July 31st, 2012. And a public hearing was held in the county of Santa Barbara to receive comments on July 11th. In April 2013, a regular business meeting was held in the jurisdiction of the county of San Luis Obispo, and additional comments were received. The response to comments were not complete at such time, so the board received comments and additional, both verbal and written, and those comments have been responded to in writing, and you have that in your packet. I should have received it yesterday or this morning. The comments in general fall into four general groups. Issues relating to utility corridors. Those issues have been adequately addressed. There were a couple issues related to local land use, notably buffers, zones, or setbacks, in addition to view sheds. And the fourth area of comments pertain to CEQA and whether designation qualified as a project under CEQA. All those comments were addressed verbally and responded to by various board members back in April. The written response again has been completed. The recommendation is that the board approve the proposed regulations. With that being said, these proposed regulations would be published in the California Registrar, which provides another period for public comment, and those comments will subsequently have to be addressed prior to the board considering adoption of the proposed language before it goes to Office of Administrative Law. Thank you.
So, is this a voting item for us to approve this now, or it seems that the people that wrote sent in the questions. I see that the response just came out a couple of days ago. So have they had a chance? Do you believe they've received them?
They probably have not received the response to comments because they were completed essentially yesterday. That being said, the issues that have been raised are no different than the issues that were raised back in July and then last year, then April of this year, and were responded to in a very similar manner. What the board is considering at this time is to approve the proposed language and authorize me to proceed with the rulemaking, which initiates with publication in the California Registrar and open it up for comment again.
I see. And how long is that comment period?
I believe 60 days.
Thank you.
So in essence, you're looking for direction from this board to move forward with this?
Correct.
So I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to direct our executive officer. Or do we have speakers? Roy Reeves?
Board members, my name is Roy Reeves. I'm a resident of San Luis Obispo County and reside in Sector C, the La Panza Granatics Resource Area. I represent Margarita Crowd, a 501c4 dedicated to the preservation of the unique character and rural quality of the Santa Margarita area. My comments given at the July 11th, 2012 public hearing and at the April 11th, 2013 meeting of the board still remain valid. First, this board has totally failed to reside by the provisions of Section 2791 of Article 6 of SMARA, which states that it shall seek the recommendations of concerned agencies and others in the identification of designation areas. To date, there has been no apparent effort by this board to communicate or negotiate with anyone concerning the areas selected for designation in this proposed rulemaking. Designation is not just a mapping exercise. it has real land use impacts on real property owners. Some of these existing and proposed land uses are incompatible with resource extraction. At a minimum, the lead agencies should have a final say on the areas proposed for designation, because in the end, they are the ones that will ultimately enforce the preservation of the resource. Second, an update on my public hearing comments concerning the misuse of this designated aggregate resource. The draft EIR for the proposed Oster Las Politas quarry was released in early April. This quarry plans to mine aggregate in subsector C1A, an area that is planned for designation as a PCC grade aggregate resource area. The quarry plans to produce only non-grade aggregate, not concrete or PCC grade. Therefore, the question is, how can this board or the lead agency allow this designated resource to be destroyed when the purpose of designation is to preserve the resource for future use? The short-term destruction or consumption of the designated resource seems to be far worse than putting a secondary dwelling on a designated parcel that still could be mined sometime in the future. I have submitted a copy of my remarks for your record, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Charles Cleveland.
Thank you, board members. Charlie Kleeman. I reside in Santa Margarita, down south, San Luis Obispo County. I'm also in Sector C. I wanted to start by continuing from the April 11th hearing or meeting. There was no public comment after the board discussion, and this board misrepresented designation to the public at that meeting, calling it nothing more than a geological survey or map that just tells you what is below the surface. That's disturbing if a board that's about to enact something into law either misrepresented from lack of understanding, or I would hope it wasn't purposeful. So would an applicant for a mining operation that's been denied a permit on a local level be entitled to appeal that decision to your board if designation meant nothing more than what's below the surface? If designation were purely informational, as was stated, would lead agencies be required to consider future land projects in light of the importance of the minerals to their production-consumption region as a whole? Would attorneys, investors, consultants, and agents to an active mining operation have been present and seeking this to occur as quickly as possible if this meant nothing more than the existence of a resource? I think they already know what's below the surface there where they're seeking an application for mining. I wanted to touch also on something that didn't get fully resolved at that meeting. The issue of regional or statewide significance. You had an applicant come before you at that meeting and suggest that that entire region should be designated for statewide rather than regional significance. Still, the standard that's applied to that has not been defined by this board as far as I can tell. It was unwashed aggregate equivalent to boron. I think I asked that a question at the last meeting and it was never really properly answered. I believe the applicant has probably made that formal request. But since the members of the public have seen nothing from other members of the public or anyone else as far as comments, we have a hard time commenting. I'll try to wrap it up here. I just don't feel like this process has been very transparent at this point. One of the board members here just mentioned the lack of time for any response to comments. The agenda was posted somewhere around the 20th or 21st for this meeting, and comments were due by the 26th. The executive officer's report was up on the website the afternoon of July 8th. As of this morning, attachment B, response to comments received, is is unavailable still for public viewing. It's not there. So I don't feel like we've got anything to continue until that's there. Your board still has the option to approve all or portions of, or take no action at all on this item today. I'd like to ask if all the board members have seen the public comments and the response to them. And if not, how are you going to vote without having reviewed all of the pertinent information? So I'm asking you to take no action on this today, and I'm requesting that no actions taken until the public comments and responses have been made available to the public. I'm also going to take it one step further. The CEQA guidelines were mentioned, and I'd like to reiterate what Mr. Babaknafasi presented on behalf of Margarita Proud and the Santa Lucia Sierra Club at that last April meeting, that there are very real consequences to this action. And designation's clearly capable of causing significant adverse impacts both directly and indirectly to the environment. And I encourage you to consider his argument for complying with CEQA through this process. Thanks for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any more speakers?
No.
Mr. Chester, would you like to respond to the comments?
Well, I would just simply say that availability of the comments received has been made in a very timely manner. And it's the written response to those comments that were not completed till yesterday for a variety of reasons. That being said, there were no comments that were received that weren't brought up at the April meeting and appropriately addressed, at least verbally, by various board members and others during that meeting. To defer this action would not change the nature of the context of the information report you have and the recommendation at this time. And again, this is not the last phase for public comment.
Comments from board members?
I would favor no action on this item, and because of the response to the comments coming out yesterday, I would like council to look closer at the relevancy of CEQA to this. Personally, I don't think that it is. I don't see the project aspect of it, but I think it would be helpful if I could get council to weigh in on it.
Do you want me to weigh in now, or do you want me to look at it further and get back to you?
I'd like you to look at it further and get back to it.
Anyone else?
I would agree with taking an action today.
Well, with that, I'm prepared to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to take no action on this item.
Second
Would the motion be not to take action, simply to defer it until September?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion and a second. Could we get a roll call vote?
Member Berry?
Yes.
Member Finley?
No.
Member Lane?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gabbard? No. Chairman Gonzalez?
Yes. So, motion carried. This will be continued to the September meeting. Next item.